welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a very fun video because we are working on the Camaro ZLE and it is getting more power. I know that a lot of you saw this coming because I've mentioned this in many of my previous videos before, but one thing, there isn't going to be an unboxing because I just couldn't wait to open up the package once I received it. So I already have everything laid out, so let me go show you what it is. Are you guys ready? Here we go. So these are the Corsa long tube headers as well as link pipes. We have some clamps, heat shield, gaskets, bolts, all of the hardware necessary. This is the full package right here. You guys have no idea how excited and how long I've been waiting to finally get these installed on my car, and the day is here. And of course, since these are Corsa, you can see it right here. This is a stainless steel. I really do like how it looks and they're such great quality. I am so happy to finally have these. Now, once I get these installed, the car is going to be 100% straight pipe. It sounds good now. This is going to make it sound even better. I can't wait to finally drive it once the headers are on and just hear the wonderful sound that is going to come out of my Camaro. As far as the link pipes, we may or may not need them. I'll see once we get to that step, because right now the car does have another exhaust as well as their link pipe, so we'll see. If we do need these, then there might need some fabrication involved, but like I said, once we get to that step, then we'll see. Another thing is that I'm happy to announce that the Camaro ZLE is sponsored by Corsa, as you can see with my shirt, as well as the banner right here in the garage. Corsa is such a great company. They have such great high quality products. They've been around it for such a long time. I mean, I'm sure you guys already know this, so this does mean that you guys do get a discount code, and I'll have that discount code here in the screen. I'll also have a link to the website in the description down below, so if you guys are interested in any of the Corsa products, please make sure to check out the website and you can use this discount code as well. But now we're ready to get started, but before we do it, let me go ahead and show you the first steps that we need to take. So I did go over the Corsa instructions as well as the Chevy service manual, and surprisingly the instructions don't seem difficult at all. It seems pretty straightforward and not too hard, which I was generally surprised because I'm thinking headers is probably going to be involved and a little bit complicated, but it doesn't seem like it. But I guess we'll see. It might be one of those that it seems simple, then once you do it you're like, okay, this is not it. Corsa does say that it's 5 wrenches in difficulty. Now I'm not sure if they mean 5 out of 10 or 5 out of 5, I guess. Once I do the installation, then I'll let you guys know how it went. So I'm going to start off showing you what needs to be done here at the top. The first step is to disconnect the battery, and that is at the trunk. Then we can move on here. So starting with the driver's side, the instructions do call for you to remove this air box. Now I'm thinking they're talking about the stock air box, because if I remember correctly, I do think that it takes up a little bit more space here, but I don't think I'm gonna remove this one, this Rotofab air box, just because I do seem to have enough space to work with here. Then you need to remove this cover, you need to remove the oil cap, you need to remove the coil wires, spark plugs. You may or may not have to remove the steering shaft. I'll see once I get there. Then you move the heat shield, and then that's it. You have access to the headers. But once we move to the passenger side, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated, just because there are more steps involved. So the first thing we need to remove is this radiator reservoir. Disconnect the hose and then just lift this up a little bit so it can be out of our way. The oil dipstick, we need to remove this cover as well, and we also need to remove the bracket from the heater hose, just so we can have enough space there. Once again, the coil wires, the spark plugs, the heat shield, and then we have access to the headers. It doesn't seem too complicated at all. There's just a lot more steps here on the passenger side. So once I do all of that, then we can go ahead and lift the car up, and I'll show you what we need to do at the bottom. So I'd say we're about 98% at least with everything here at the top. Now the only thing that was annoying was working on this passenger side, but I mean there's just little to no space that it makes it annoying to work here. It's not complicated, it's just time consuming just because of the limited space that you have to work with. Another thing that was annoying was the bracket for the heater hose. That was such a pain just because it had some clips and one of them was in the worst possible place. I don't know why, but that took a little bit to take it off. And then this cable was also in the way, so I just tried to find every single possible clip that I could, and I just unclipped that just so I can actually move this a little bit and then just make that easier. So after that, the only thing that's pending are the header bolts, so I do need to loosen those for both the passenger and the driver side, but I haven't done that yet just because it did get pretty late. So today I'm just gonna go ahead and call it a day, and then tomorrow we can start from the bottom. There are a few things that I will need to do there, so I'll go ahead and show you then, and then I'll leave those header bolts last. But before we go, I do want to show you what 3,200 miles is on the spark plugs that I just removed, because why not? So this is it. So these are the spark plugs. This is 3,200 miles. I think they're wearing out pretty evenly, and this is mainly track miles, which is what I mostly use it. I do a little bit of city driving, but it's mainly taken to the track, so I think they're fine. But I just want to be cautious. Even though those look good, I still want clean ones, so I'm gonna go ahead and order them. I don't think they'll be here in time before I get this completed, but I'm just gonna get them here and then just replace them before my track day. So I'll just have brand new spark plugs. Again, it's just my choice, just because, you know, you never know. So it's the next day, I have the car raised, and there's a few things we need to take care of here at the bottom. So according to both instructions, they say in order to remove the cats, at least from the driver's side, there's no issues, they'll come out fine without having to do anything else. But once you move here to the passenger side, you will have to remove the K-member. Now, if you see up here, there's these 4 long studs from the headers. So if you try to remove the cats, at least from the passenger side, then these 4 studs will end up getting stuck here because there's not enough clearance with the K-member. So now I'm like, you know what? There has to be a better way, because I really just don't want to remove the K-member. So I thought, let me try something. Let me remove these nuts from these studs from both the passenger side and the driver's side, lower the car, then on top for the headers, I'll remove those, and then the headers should come right out. Now I know this is going to work because both instructions do say that the headers do come out from the top of the car. So once I have that taken care of and the headers are out, then raise the car again, and then I'm back here. The headers are finally off. This is the one from the driver's side, and then this is the gasket. I did struggle a bit with removing these nuts, but one stud did end up coming off. But I'd say that overall, this side was pretty easy. Didn't struggle too much. If we move on to the passenger side, the lack of space here really makes it hard to work with. This radiator reservoir was in my way the entire time. This heater hose. These are the headers from the passenger side. Man, I struggled so much, so I'm so happy these are finally off. And then when I was trying to remove those nuts, all 4 studs ended up coming off. One thing that I wish I would have done is put PB Blaster on those studs, so now I know for next time for the next car that I do headers on. So now I guess we're about halfway done, so it's time to raise the car, and then it's time to see if my plan is going to work. I think it will, but let's see. We're gonna put it to the test now. So we're going to remove the entire exhaust, and of course I'll need Chris's help because there's no way I'm gonna remove that entire exhaust by myself. So I'll see you guys once the exhaust is off, or if my plan fails when it's time to remove the K-member. So it is day 3. The Hellcat has been patiently waiting here all of this time. And by the way guys, the yellow splitter guard is no longer on the car, so no more of those comments. But either way, let's get back to the Camaro because I did run into a few issues, but let me explain everything. So let's start from where we last left off, which was trying to see if we can remove the entire exhaust without having to take off the K-member. And let me tell you that that did work. So Chris and I were able to remove it without having to take off the K-member because as you guys saw, I had already removed the headers from the top. But then after that, it was time to install the Corsa headers. So I did run into a few issues there just because I was placing them from underneath the car to the top, but I did have to remove the K-member for that because they just wouldn't fit. So I mean, in a way my plan worked, but at the same time I still had to remove it just to put these headers on top. So I was trying to feed them from the bottom up, but I quickly realized that I wasn't able to do that by myself just because there was no possible way to hold these headers, then at the top align them with the gasket, and then align them with the hose and get the bolts in. Definitely a 2-person job. So what I did is I had Chris help me here at the bottom, and he was just holding the weight from them on top. And then I was on top on the hood and then just trying to align them. So I aligned it with the gasket and then put the bolts back in. So the driver's side was pretty easy, no issues there. But once we moved to the passenger side, again, this was such a struggle just because of the limited space on top. There were so many things in the way. That took us a lot longer than aligning the driver's side, but then finally got the headers in. Then it was time to come underneath here. So I did end up running into another issue here, which probably the biggest issue of all, but it was something that I had already expected. So like I told you guys, once I had the headers on, it was time to put the link pipes, which are right here. And I had mentioned to you that there might need to be some fabrication done to them just because I don't have a Corsa exhaust. I have an aftermarket exhaust, as you can see here. So when I cut them, I just made sure that I measured just so they can fit between the expansion pipe and also the exhaust. So that's the link pipe on the passenger side, and here is on the driver's side. So another issue, I mean, just like I expected, just because I don't have the Corsa exhaust, is that these weren't fitting with the exhaust that I have now. So what I did to fix that was I ended up taking these link pipes to a muffler shop. They ended up expanding both sides here so they could fit into 3-inch pipes, which we have right here. So then that fit well, as you can see, looks pretty good. Now these clamps here are from Corsa. I really do like these because they fit pretty well. It's a good seal. Now I didn't have any more of these clamps, so I ended up picking these up at Napa. I don't really like them because they don't fit perfectly there, but I do have some of these on the way here. So once I get them, then I'll end up replacing these. So I mean, that was pretty much it. Now the entire system is on, as you can see, and then you can see the headers here, which is such a difference from these OEM headers that I just removed. You can see the long tubes just starting from here. So I'm really excited. I'm so happy that this is finally done. It took some time, guys, but it is finally installed on my car. Now I do want to say that Corsa did warn me. They did tell me that their system might not fit with the other exhaust that I had, but I just told them, you know what, it's okay, I'll make it work. So that's exactly why some fabrication needed to happen. So if you guys do plan on getting Corsa headers and you already have a Corsa exhaust, then no worries there, it'll end up working perfectly fine. You won't have to make any fabrication. But if you are planning to get Corsa headers and still keep the OEM exhaust, or you have another exhaust, then do plan on doing some fabrication work just like I did here. So first, I'm going to connect the battery, and second, we're going to get a startup. So it goes without saying, headphone warning. can say is wow, I am truly amazed. It sounds so good. The only thing is that cold start, it sounds ridiculously loud, but I think that's just because I turned it on when it was all the way here at the end of the garage, so I think the noise just ended up bouncing off the walls and it just sounded like a freaking explosion just went off. So I think the next thing that I'll try is turning it on outside the garage, and then depending on how that sounds, and I've actually been reading online that I can have that heat cycle turned off once I get it tuned, so let's see, I'll make my decision depending on how it sounds outside. But as far as just taking it out and then just full throttle, it sounds so good. It sounds incredible. I'm so in love with it. It's exactly what I wanted. Now, as far as inside, this is actually one good thing that the Camaro has. It's very well insulated inside, so it's just a little bit louder, and the drone, it pretty much sounds the same, so I'm very happy with how it sounds now. And then if you're in front of me, you can definitely hear that there's a beast coming behind you, which it just sounds so good. I can't help but smile. And another thing that I did forget to mention to you guys is, since this job actually ended up taking a little bit longer than expected, I did receive those spark plugs, so I did end up replacing them, so it has brand new spark plugs on. Now the next thing will be a power modification, so I will be installing that pretty soon. Once I have that installed, then I'll be taking the Camaro to get tuned, so I'm very, very excited for that as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.